sisters, we've all turned up the radio to hear Brother Jimmy Lakey, from coast to coast and shore to shore. Now raise your voice. Oh, let us all, Jimmy Lakey, get out of bed. Jimmy Lakey, raise your voice. Jimmy Lakey, hey, can't live without it with Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey.
I'm over here on the side. See me? Here I am. Okay, I'll go full screen now. How about that? Welcome to the show, everybody. Happy Monday. Starting a little late here. Having a little difficulty on the Twitter feed this morning. If you're normally listening on Twitter, you're not right now. For some reason, Twitter is not streaming. It says try again. We're going to keep trying. So if you're a normal Twitter, if you know anybody that's a Twitter, we just posted a message up on Twitter and said, hey, a little technical difficulty, but we'll figure it out. But that means we're going to be missing some of our grand audience today on the Lakey Unleashed Daily Updates. So Twitter, we miss you. We're working on it. We're trying to fix the problem, and hopefully that will be repaired soon. I don't think the problem is on our end because it's streaming on every other platform out there. Several Facebook pages we're on. The YouTube, the Instagram, the Rumble, we're all out there. But the Twitter audience is MIA right now. We're, again, working to repair that in real time. So anyway, good to have you here. It's Monday, the 10th day of March. How'd you like that evening? Last night, the sun was up a little bit longer. I like that. Could we stop dinking around with the time now? We got it set. This is perfect. Let's just leave it alone year round. And there have been some people squawking in Congress that maybe we should do exactly that. That this should be the last time that we ever turn our clocks again like trained monkeys because the government says, hey, get up there and turn your clock. And it's easier now, digital, but it's really stupid. We don't need this. And the daylight savings is the purpose of that that was created for it. We have outlived it. It's done, and it's time to just keep our clocks all the same. So anyway, what else is going on out there in the world? Not much. We're in a very slow news cycle of life, aren't we? We are not. Okay, coming up on the program, we're going to talk taxes. It's tax day in America. Not tax day, but tax season in America. We'll talk about that here coming up on the program. Also, our buddy Michael Letts is going to be on the program. We're going to talk about the violent Democrats out there. They've gone bat crap crazy, and turns out looks like some of those protests, as they always are, since USAID is not hiring rioters. It looks like, according to Elon Musk, that organizations funded by George Soros are having to pony up the money and get people to blow up the Tesla dealerships and things like that they're doing. So it's a fascinating time. We'll talk to Michael Letts about that here in just a moment. The big news of the week is it's the budget showdown. This is the week that right before the election, they passed a continuing resolution. We hear that phrase. We've defined it on the show. And that continuing resolution was meant to get you to after the election. And after the election, we figured out we're going to go to March. Friday? This coming Friday is going to be the end of we're in a screwed up budget cycle. They didn't pass a full budget. They just do continuing resolution after continuing resolution. The fiscal year of the United States ends in October. And what happens, and I've told you the cycle, the president gives a State of the Union address, which President Trump gave a joint session to Congress just a couple of nights ago, a week ago Tuesday, and he lays out his priorities. And then Congress gets together. They start working out the details of a budget for the fiscal year that ends in October, and that way it goes forward. So this is the time normally that we should be working on the new budget that will begin in October. Unfortunately, the dysfunction of the previous administration, previous Congresses have just passed down continuing resolution after continuing resolution after continuing resolution, and we have a continuing resolution that expires. And so what Congress is proposing to do, what the Republicans are hoping to do, is they're hoping to just pass a clean continuing resolution bill. Clean, meaning we're not adding anything to it. We're going to, because that's why they oftentimes have a continuing resolution that's not clean. They stick in a little extra here, a little extra there. And the Republicans are saying, no, we're going to pass a continuing resolution that will fund the government until October when this budget year is up. We're not going to take anything out. We're not going to put anything in. We're going to just keep going, let Elon Musk do his thing, work on the new budget, and just kind of just march forward. And the Democrats are saying, no, you can't pass a clean resolution. You can't pass a budget resolution that's going to not grow and not add extra things. So the Democrats are freaking out and saying we're going to shut down the government if you pass this clean resolution bill, and we're not going to stand for it. We're not going to vote for it. You're not going to get any support. Now, this would be the first time in American history. Think of the 200 plus years that we have, almost 250 years as a country. This will be the first time in American history that that a budget was not passed based on a clean bill. Usually, in all 200 almost 50 years of American history, when a clean bill goes forward, there's a vote, and we can continue the budget because there's nothing to argue about. It's what's already in place. It's what's already happening, and therefore it's good, right? But no, the Democrats say we're going to shut down the government this Friday if we can't add things to, or if you're going to continue to talk about Elon Musk, we're going to shut down this dang government. And that's what we're facing up right now. Again, normally you don't mind a government shutdown, but it is interesting to see that the Democrats, this is the budget. This is the same budget that Joe Biden put into place. This is a clean bill continuing the spending of Joe Biden through October. In other words, the same budget. Nothing changes. Nobody's getting cut as far as the spending. Now, there may be some redirection. That money that was cut from USAID didn't disappear. It's still there in the coffers, but so we're going to keep spending it. And where it goes is going to be a whole different thing. But the Democrats say, no, this is not right. So they vote for, and they think that Joe Biden gave them a great bill. And now that Donald Trump and the Republicans say, give us that, we'll keep everything going through October, because our focus right now needs to be not to change this. We don't want to be distracted by this. We want to be moving towards October and get a true budget and get back onto the proper budgeting process. So that's what the Republicans are trying to do. And the crazed, maniacal Democrats are standing in the way of that. So it's going to be fun to watch. This is going to be the showdown of the week. Budget talk, budget talk, budget talk, budget talk. That's what you're going to get, is a heck of a lot of budget talk. And we shall see who wins the battle of the budget. And Democrats are, I'm sure the media will help them. But Democrats are going to have a hard time explaining how it is that we're going to keep the Joe Biden budget going through October. We're going to keep the Democrat budget going through October, and the Democrats are going to try to block that thing. By the way, just got notice we're back live on the Twitter. So all of you Twitter folks out there, or excuse me, X, welcome back to the show. The numbers will start to grow as people accumulate in the Twitter feed. This morning we had technical difficulties, not due to our own efforts, but somewhere in the inter-Googles, things got a little screwed up. All right, give me your thoughts. Today is National Napping Day. You ever heard of that, National Napping Day? It's because everybody's a little sleepy and bleary-eyed from the spring forward thing. I mentioned that I hope we never have to do that. Again, this turn our clocks forward. This is a stupid exercise in futility for us to go back and forth. I hope that this is the last time we ever have to move our clocks again. Let's just keep it this way. Let's milk as much daylight year-round as we can out of the backside of a day. I think that would be a wonderful, wonderful idea. If I were king, I would make that an edict. If I were the president, I would see if we could make that an executive order, is what I would do, because I think we should keep it this way all the time. But today is National Napping Day. I have the stat here. A lot of folks are going to take naps today. If you're still recovering from springing forward, today is, again, National Napping Day. And to celebrate that, it's real simple. You don't have to drink. You don't have to smoke. You don't have to go out with the women that do. All you got to do is take a nap today. Most of us lost that hour due to the springing forward. Some states don't change, so it didn't change there. But there's two ways to celebrate. You could take a nap today. Experts recommend a 20 to 30-minute nap to feel more energized. Here's the question I have for you. How many of you are nappers? And if so, what is the perfect length of a nap for you? Put those up in the comments of all the platforms we're on. The YouTube has a place. The Rumble has a place. Everybody's got a place to comment. What's the perfect length of nap? Experts recommend 20 to 30 minutes if you want to feel more energized. A 60-minute nap will make you feel more rested, but you'll probably feel lethargic and groggy when you wake up. If you're out for longer than that, you'll enter into REM sleep, REM sleep. Remember that? You've heard that, the deep sleep, rapid eye movement speech, and that also means you're probably sleep deprived if you can go longer than a 60-minute nap. If you're not a napper, you can still celebrate Nap Day. Today's National Nap Day. We all should celebrate these days by going to bed earlier tonight. Jumpstart that by exercising a little bit this evening, according to the experts, and then they said take a hot bath or a hot shower, and then jump right into bed. 42% of Americans say they've had their sleep affected by the daylight saving times, and women say that they feel effects more than men. Another new poll say people would love it. 60% of the people would love it if they never had to change their clocks again. 22% of people say they want to keep the time changes right where they're at and never change again. 18% say they're just not sure. So anyway, the question of the day is, are you a napper? And if so, for you, what is the perfect length of napping? I'd love to get your comments on the screen. Do you take naps? And if so, what is the perfect length of the nap for you? I like the 20, 30-minute nap on occasion. The trouble is I'm probably sleep deprived because I have some for a 20-minute nap is all I need, just a 20-minute little bit of shut-eye. And if I do 20 minutes, I'm like, oh, can I do that again and again and again? I don't think I get enough sleep. I probably should work on that and talk to my therapist and doctor about that. But today's National Napping Day. All right, who are my nappers out there? Any nappers, and how long do you nap for? What is the perfect length of napping for you? I'd love to hear from you on that said question. I like the naps. I really do like the naps. Remember as a kid, it was a punishment if your parents told you had to go take a nap. As a child, you just like, oh, God, I don't want to take a nap. I don't want to take a nap. But then you fought it, and now as an adult, you kind of beg and hope to take a nap. I like what Jim just put up in one of the Facebook rooms. I see that there on the screen. The perfect nap is really the perfect length of nap depends on the length of the meeting. Well, this is true. There are some meetings that you want to nap through. There are some meetings you would like to nap through. I want to, sometimes on a Sunday, I'd like to take a Sunday nap, but I'm afraid because of not now that I don't have to wake up as early, but when I was doing early morning radio, I was scared to death of a Sunday nap. Because last thing I needed to do is screw up my sleep schedule over the weekend. And then when Monday morning and 3:34 a.m. alarm went off, then I would not be awake for that. So I've been very cautious to not take Sunday naps when I was back in the radio days. But I occasionally would slip up. But I tried not to nap on Sunday. Now, I would sometimes nap on a Saturday, and that was okay. And there were sometimes after, if I had a big event, let's say I watched the State of the Union or some big speech, and then I'd wake up and do the show, the 4-hour radio show that I was doing for many years, then I would oftentimes after the show try to squeeze in a 20 or 30-minute napping, but that oftentimes didn't work. And sometimes I would head straight to a meeting, get there early, and say, okay, I was up late last night, up early this morning. Maybe I'll close my eyes here in the car just to try to stay awake in the meeting. So anyway, Jim also says, do Sunday naps depend on the length of the sermon? That's why. Well, you got to go to better church. If you're sleeping through the sermon, you got to go to better church. A sermon should not put you to sleep. You got to go to better church. Your church is not good if you're sleeping through the sermon. Although I might have dozed off once or twice just when you're real tired. Go to bed earlier. All right, good to have all of you here on the program. Again, Jimmy Lakey is my name. We were late on the Twitter. The Twitter feed was down for a while. It just re-engaged, we are told, about 3 minutes ago. So the Twitter crowd is a little bit slow to gather. But welcome in. Don't forget, if you respond on Twitter, you make a comment. If you comment on any of the Facebook pages, if you comment on the Instagram, we can see that. The Rumble page, good morning to our Rumble friends out there. Hope you're doing well and hope you had a fantastic weekend. Is there anybody out there that could argue with these over 60% of Americans who say we hope that this past Saturday night, Sunday morning was the last time you ever have to change your clock again? Is there anybody out there that says, boy, no, Jimmy, that's wrong. I don't want to. I like the time changes. I think they're ridiculous. I think they're stupid. I think they're outdated. And it just shows the idiocy of our Congress that for years and years and years, we continue to practice this exercise in futility. So if anybody would like to argue for these time changes back and forth, feel free to do that on any platform you're on. But I can't see any purpose for it. Can't see any purpose for it. I see this comment that I might have already posted while I was yammering. Changing our clocks, Rich is writing, messes with our natural acclimation to the seasonal changes. It keeps everyone on edge and agitated. We need to stop changing the clocks. And maybe that's why Congress doesn't change it, and the government won't stop the stupidity nationwide, is maybe they like us to be agitated, because when we're agitated, we're less harmonious, and we are violent, nasty, sometimes people. So I don't know. It's just dumb. Over 60% of Americans say, let's let this be the last time. And anytime you could get 60% of Americans agreeing on a topic, you would think that Congress would say, yeah, that's a good topic. We ought to vote on that one. Right? Anytime you could get 60% of Americans saying we should stop turning the clocks back, it seems like Congress would go, oh, okay. It's kind of like when Donald Trump floated the idea of no tax on tips. It's kind of a populist message. People that have ever worked for tips and worked for gratuities go, yeah, that's good. No tax on your Social Security. Everybody that gets Social Security out there is probably going, I like that one as well. There are certain themes that you can get around, and those are the themes that the Congress ought to work on. And actually, so that we don't think that they're idiots and not doing anything. They still may be idiots, but at least they're doing something. And they should take these low-hanging fruits that Americans can agree on, and they should codify them and put them into law. Most Americans, the average run-of-the-mill Americans that votes and breathes and walks and goes to church and does in your neighborhood, that doesn't listen to talk radio, they're not economists, go, yeah, if the government has to survive off the taxing the tips of the waitress or the waiter down to the local diner, then the government's spending too much. Yeah, let's do no tax on tips. And the reason that Social Security is being paid is because it has already been taxed. So don't pretend you're doing us a favor by giving a Social Security check and then taxing that Social Security check again. You're taking it again. Don't do that. These are themes that seem to be, if the politicians in Washington, D.C. were working for you and I to represent the will of the people, these seem to be themes that our politicians would have already targeted. These seem to be topics that they already would have gone after. But it's case in point evidence when 60+%, depending on the poll, show that Americans hope this past weekend was the last time they ever have to change their clock. Then it seems quite evident that the Congress could come together and say, you know what, Americans agree on this. We don't agree on a lot of things, but let's agree on this and let's stop this stupidity of the clock changing. And I don't know if there's lobbyists out there that are lobbying for the clock change or what. But again, you look at these low-hanging thematic fruits and go, why doesn't Congress just do that? You know, we can disagree on Doge and Elon Musk and Donald Trump, all that stuff. But you do a poll, Americans say, yeah, no tax on tips. Don't tax the seniors and their Social Security. Americans can come together on some of these topics. Why is it that Congress can't get their asses in gear and say, you know what, we got 60% plus of Americans that say this is stupid. And really, if you look at the poll, it's 60% say absolutely the last time. Some people say, well, I want to go the other way in the clock. But yeah, people are tired of changing it. Then let's set that. But Congress doesn't take any action on that. They don't take any action. And again, it represents kind of the problem that we have with Congress, that you have topics that we as Americans can agree on, and we can agree on. And you know what would happen, though? And you know this is how dysfunctional Congress has become. It is dysfunctional enough that if they passed a bill to stop all the madness of the clocks and keep the clocks where they're at, they would also have to probably put in 14 different pages or 14 different volumes of some pork barrel spending to fund a bridge to nowhere in someone's district. So Congress is dysfunctional, and the fact that they can't pass a real simple bill to get it to the president on no tax on tips or whatever the case may be of these things, these unifying messages that you and I agree on, will prove to you that Congress is not really recommending, Congress is not really representing you and I. They're representing the lobbyists that they're listening to. All right, good to have you here. It's National Napping Day. Coming up on the program in just a bit, we're going to have a gentleman by the name of Mark Kwan. He's written a great book in tax season. I think you shall enjoy it. The name of the book is the author of Be Smart, Pay Zero Taxes, Use the Buy, Borrow, Die Strategy to Get Rich and Stay Rich. We're going to talk to him about not just his book, but about some other things that are in the news out there. And also Michael Letts, our law enforcement security guy is going to be on the program for South Carolina, Alabama, for one of those places down there. He'll be joining us here a little bit later on in the program. That brings me to a reminder that we have a real problem out there. Democrats have gone extra violent, and I'll talk to Michael Lutz about that. And it seems as if there was a Secret Service shootout in front of the White House on Saturday in which they had a guy with a gun, and he was approaching the White House, and the Secret Service said, oh, none of that. We're not going to have any of that. And they dispatched that fellow. J.D. Vance got stopped on a walk in the street with his 3-year-old daughter, and people screaming at him, pro-Hamas hecklers. And he said, listen, if you'll stop screaming in front of my daughter, I'll talk to you. He stood there in 5 minutes and had a conversation with them on the streets of D.C. Or excuse me, he was out of town, but he had a conversation with him. And then they started screaming again. He says, I've talked to you for 5 minutes. And I could have the Secret Service just take care of this whole problem, but I'm taking a walk and leave us alone. And it was the Democrats were pathetic people. You libs out there are pathetic people, and even your mothers probably are ashamed of you. And I think the Lord Almighty might be as well. There was an interview this weekend with Marie Bartiromo. That's it took me forever to learn to say that name, Maria Bartiromo, and it's fun to spell as well. Anybody watch it? Let me play a snippet of it. This is Donald Trump this weekend with Maria Bartiromo. She's usually on the Fox News, Fox Business News during the week, but on the weekend, she has a weekend show. Maria Bartiromo, and this is what Donald Trump had to say. Just a kind of a random topics. Go ahead.
Where the private enterprise carries the day, not the government. And I want a strong country militarily. We need that nowadays. You can see that probably better than ever before. So I rebuilt our military. A lot of it was given away to Afghanistan, but it was a lot, but a very small portion, in all fairness. But when you think about the billions and billions of dollars that was just handed over, but I rebuilt it. We're going to be rebuilding it again because we need that. We always need that. But we're doing a series of incentives, tax incentives and other things. The tax bill, I think, is going to be very important. The Democrats will fight us all the way. One thing I learned the other night, again, I could say, because it's my 5th such speech. And at the beginning, I said, I didn't know it was going to be as pertinent as it turned out to be, that no matter what I do, this group of people in front of us, I could come up with the cure to the worst disease that the world has ever seen. I gave other examples. I said, no matter what I do, they're going to sit there angry, insolent. You just see it. I mean, you see it. You can feel it. No matter what I say, no matter what I do, no matter who it is, they won't stand, they won't applaud, they won't clap. They'll just sit there with sour faces. And that's what they did. And, it was interesting. I said, I wonder if I should put this in, but it worked out to be true. And I think by putting it in, I showed that it was true. And it's sad because we're doing great things in this country. This country's really got a chance to be pretty quickly great again. I think the country has got a big light over it right now, and I've been told this by even other foreign leaders. We had Modi, we had everybody. We had from France to India to about 12 that want to come in. They all want to be here. Every one of them wants to be here. We had the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom who was here, and he couldn't believe. He said the difference in terms of the feeling about the United States is very different. It feels that we're back, we're respected again. We are respected again. And in a way, we're back, and it's only been a few weeks.
So that was this weekend with Maria Bartiromo. Here's a question for you. I agree with that, everything you said. Everybody that I've talked to, except those crazed Democrats that were showing off and pouting out the other night of the joint session of Congress speech, there is a different air out there. There's some questions out there. There's people that question about whether a recession is possible, and President Trump said he didn't want to answer the question, but he said there are going to be some growing pains to turn this thing around. But there's still a feeling of optimism out there, that from what I sense from the people that I know, and I know you've got the Democrats out there that are popping veins in their neck and their eyeballs are popping out of their head, and they just can't bear to see that the orange man is back in power. But overall, the people that I know kind of feel confident. You feel like, okay, America's got a swagger back, and we're all good with that. So I just a quick question: do you feel the same thing? And he says world leaders say that. I talk to people in Africa usually once a week at least, and even they are like, "Oh, it looks like you in America have much fun." That's a bad accent, but they're watching it. They're enjoying it. They're thinking it's kind of fun to watch as well. So anyway, the optimism is back unless you were one of those crazy Democrats sitting in the hallowed halls of Congress the other day. Then your optimism is not back. You were absolutely hell-bent on just freaking out all the time. So it's a sad group of people, those Democrats that you watched the other night. And it's a sad, it's National Napping Day. Some of those Democrats just got to go take a nap, a long, long nap. Go take your nap. And I think that makes some of them feel better. It'd make a lot of them feel better, I think. All right, good to have you here on the show. Again, we had a little trouble on the Twitter feed this morning. The Twitter feed is just gathering, so if you're just joining us, sorry, Twitter, or excuse me, X, it's not our fault. There was just a glitch somewhere between our systems and the X feed, and they got that fixed up, so we're a little slow on the X this morning. But if you're on the X this morning, just my name, obviously, Jimmy Lakey. If you're on the X, share it out, like it, whatever you can do to spread the word, and tell people they gathered for our start time that if they were disappointed we weren't there at start time, we're here now. So the numbers, we watch the numbers in the studio on all the various bazillion platforms that we're streaming on right now. We watch the numbers and they grow, and the X feed was a little slow this morning, but we're back on X. And if you don't follow me on X or Twitter, you should follow me there. It's just my name, JIMMY, Jimmy Lakey. And I would love to have you follow me there because we have a lot of fun on the Twitter. I keep wanting to call it the Twitter, but we have to call it the X. And also, if you don't follow me on Rumble, look up Jimmy Lakey on Rumble. And this channel that we're on Rumble is Lakey Unleashed. YouTube is just my name, I believe, Jimmy Lakey. You'll find me there. And, of course, several Facebook pages and a lot of other platforms. So whatever platform you're listening to us and watching us this morning, good morning. Glad to have you here. And what else do I have? Okay, well, let's go to our first guest of the morning. How about that? That would be a great idea, Jimmy. You should go to your first guest of the morning. You ready for this? You ready for this? Talk about taxes a moment ago, right? And again, I come back to my question. It seems like our Congress could just do a couple of real simple things, a couple of short bills. One of those is very popular. One of those very popular today is stop screwing the clocks around. Stop this spring forward fallback. Let this be the last time we ever change our clock. 60% of Americans say they agree with that, and this should be done over 60%. Some other things that have some real populist, if you will, movement and motion that I think Congress, should forget one big, beautiful bill, just do a couple of big short bills. Let's get rid of the taxes on the tips. Let's stop taxing the Social Security benefits again. There's real simple things that if the members of Congress were representing the people and the will of the people, then there would be a lot of these shorter bills that could go through. But instead, we dink around and dick around for years debating daylight savings time because the jackwagons in Congress don't listen to the will of the people and just put a simple bill together that stops this nonsense. And your governors out there also are cowards, and they won't change it. Arizona, God bless Arizona. If you're in Arizona, sound off in any of the chat rooms out there on all the platforms because Arizona doesn't play the dink around with the clock thing. They stay consistently year-round, and you got to have respect for the people of Arizona. You got to have respect. There's another thing that is very popular, no tax on tips. That would be big, no tax on the Social Security. Let me bring into the conversation a gentleman that has written a book called Be Smart, Pay Zero Taxes, Use the Buy, Borrow, Die Strategy to Get Rich and Stay Rich. I welcome into the show if I hit the right buttons, and sometimes I don't. Mark Kwan, he's in the studio. Mark, welcome in, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. How's the sound?
That sounds great.
Awesome.
We got a copy of your book. We want to show everybody that they can get a copy of it. It's Be Smart, Pay Zero Taxes, Use the Buy, Borrow, Die Strategy to Get Rich and Stay Rich. Mark J. Kwan. Mark, before we, dive into kind of some of the pointers in the book, I want to ask you a quick question here. Are we finally getting some talk of let's gut the IRS and go back to a days where we don't have that personal income tax? There's a little bit of talk about that with Donald J. Trump. What do you think?
I think I love the idea. I mean, the government has a rule. It says spend whatever we have, right? It's use it or lose it. So if you gave them $1 billion, they'll spend it. If you gave them $2 billion, they'll spend it because they don't get their budgets renewed unless they spend everything. That's a ridiculous system to run anything. I mean, it's just you have to raise taxes, and then as you spend the money, there's a second tax, the hidden tax of inflation. that inflation actually just destroys the middle class. It transfers wealth from the poor and transfers it to the rich and to the government. So we have to fix the tax system to reward the people that are working hard, and the business owners in the country. And we obviously have to, bring jobs back to America, right? Made in America needs to be a thing. There's the system's been so broken for so long. It's going to take there's a lot of shaking up to do, and that's what's happening right now. I'm very excited about it. I don't know if you could completely eliminate the tax on income eventually, but I'd see it phasing out over years would be good. Of course, they have to kind of do it a little bit slowly and carefully. So
yeah, if you're just listening, because I know some of you are pretending to be working in your cubicle and you just have earbuds in and you're not on the screen, and you're just joining, it's Mark J. Kwan. He's written a book called Be Smart, Pay Zero Taxes. We'll get into the details of that here in just a second. I remember all of us are thinking taxes right now. It's tax season in America. And I had a friend mention yesterday, remember the great moment in presidential debate when Hillary Clinton turned to Donald Trump and said, you don't pay your taxes, you find loopholes. And he goes, because I'm smart. I don't pay my taxes because I take advantage of all these loopholes that the politicians have put in there for people that actually have money in their pocket. That's the problem. The tax code is so complex that everybody feels like they're getting an unfair shake, and some people that have more obviously have more deductions to take.
Yeah, it's not really about deductions. I mean, deductions are great, but just understanding all the tax codes that the wealthy use, right? And that's the thing. I've been studying taxes for a while. This is my fourth book. I was the financial advisor. I was the investment advisor, training literally hundreds of financial advisors. I've been down all the rabbit holes, and I had to learn it. But the fact is, even as a financial advisor, we didn't learn these things. So I had to exit the financial industry in 2018. That's when I wrote my second book called Top 10 Ways to Avoid Taxes. And then finally, I've spent the last 5 years just studying tax codes. And I write books. I take complicated ideas, simplify them, and put them into a book format. I mean, my family were construction workers. I grew up mixing concrete. I grew up poor. I just wanted to take a book and just simplify it, make it available to anybody. And we've shown that the strategy the wealthy use called buy, borrow, die, anybody can do it. I've taught it to over 500 people in the past 4 years. They're for construction workers, they're factory workers. The guy who built my deck, I taught it to him. So,
all right, we're going to dive into this because people read that they go, "Be smart, pay zero taxes." They say impossible. One of the things that I think the government deceives us with is that whole payroll deduction. They take it out of our paycheck, and so you never realize how much you're actually paying. And then the stat is that when people get their refunds, they think they paid their taxes. Well, by the time some people get the refund, they're not paying taxes or getting it all back. So the people that are actually the net gain of the government is a very small percentage of people that contribute. But is it possible for the average person out there that's not a bazillionaire or a multimillionaire to pay zero taxes?
100%. It's actually pretty simple. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. But the thing is, you have to commit time and money to doing this. You can't just put it in really quick. There's no last minute fixes before tax season to get rid of your tax bill. You have to do strategic planning. And I'll give you an example. This is something anybody can do. 401ks. I'm not going to talk about 401ks. I think they're horrible investments personally. I wouldn't put a dime in them because you're just deferring taxes for Uncle Sam to come later. But just a brokerage account. You can set up a brokerage account, buy stocks and ETFs. If you never sell them, you build wealth without having to pay taxes. Well, what if you took a low interest loan to pay some of your expenses? You just paid your expenses with money you didn't have to work or pay taxes on. That's the borrow part. We use this strategy with stocks and ETFs, life insurance, real estate, cryptocurrency, and gold and precious metals. We fund them. We never sell them. We can borrow from one to fund the other. When you borrow money, you're not paying taxes. And then when you die, all that money passes to your heirs with a stepped up basis. I mean, it's all passed to your heirs. So anybody can do this. But in the future, if you understand, real estate has very powerful tax codes. We're talking the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. Let's say the house that I'm living in, my wife and I, we bought it. We actually rent the downstairs, right? We actually bought a bigger house because we wanted to rent it. Well, we have an office in here, which is legit. We rent the downstairs. That's legit. There's depreciation. Depreciation can provide tax-free income to me. Now, there's little loopholes. Short-term rentals loophole. If I'm renting it on something on Airbnb, that's actually the depreciation, meaning the value of the property is going down in value. That can even wipe out W-2 income. So these are simple tax codes. It's 49 chapters. Everything's very simple, very easy to understand. It's all broken up in every single little chapter there. So anybody can read this stuff, but you need to put the time into understanding this stuff, and you need to make sure your CPA understands this stuff, because CPAs generally file taxes. They don't do strategic tax planning. But the thing is, I have to teach the same thing to my wealthy clients as I teach to the average American worker, because even the wealthy don't understand this stuff. It's amazing.
You talk about that. I want you to dive into the financial advice that most of us get. Most of us have received. Some people, you've got big, powerful guys out there that say never even have a credit card, don't ever borrow money. You just said take out a loan. He says if you want to have financial peace, don't do that. Talk about some of the other financial advice that's out there, because some of it you're kind of contrarian upon.
I'm not slightly contrarian. Everything's opposite. Everything is it. If you believe you need to work hard, pay your taxes, go to school, get a good job, save money, get good credit, put money in a 401k and a Roth to save on taxes and go buy your real estate and pay it off quick, that's actually the opposite of what the wealthy are doing. Okay. So you have to decide, understand both systems and decide what's better for you. See, there's a lot of people out there, they don't have financial discipline. They need the money makeover, right? Because they have uncontrol, they spend everything on credit card debt, they can't save anything. Those people need to use their 401k, max fund it, and whatever, because they need something to save. But the people that are financially, they want to understand money, they want to understand taxes. You can use debt to build wealth. Debt is tax free, and working hard is highly taxed. Okay, so for example, let's say that person said, I want to buy the latest iPhone every single year, no matter what. I just love it. Whenever it comes out every 2 years, they want to upgrade the iPhone. Well, what if they just bought Apple stock, for example, or whatever? And they bought the Apple stock and they never sold it. They'd be building their wealth without paying taxes. What if they took a low interest margin loan and bought it and sent the money to their bank account and bought the new iPhone? Well, they would have bought the iPhone with money they never worked for and they never paid taxes on. Okay, so it's just a smart way. If you fund a business like that, you can actually get tax deductions by funding a business with money that's never been taxed. You can do this for donating to a church or charity. Imagine you wanted to donate $10,000 a year to your church. Well, invest it, and then you can take a loan. Let's say you had $30,000 invested now. Well, you can take a margin loan, send the money to your bank account, donate it to your church. You get a $10,000 deduction on money you didn't have to work for. It was never taxed. Now the government has to give you money back. So the buy, borrow, die system is far superior than anything I've ever discovered. I've been studying money for 25 years, and I wrote 4 books, and I was the financial advisor that trained financial advisors. This is by far the most effective system, and we start people with $100 in a brokerage account. I know that's big money to put up, but $100 is what you got to put in your own fully insured brokerage account to start it up. It's all in the book.
Yeah, it's in the book, and we'll show the book again here in just a second. But another thing here, I know you talk about this in the book, bad debt and good debt, because a lot of us have, you hear debt, you think people hear loan, they're like, well, I'm not paying taxes on that, but I'm paying a high interest over, X number of years. So does it balance? Help us understand what you refer to as good debt and bad debt. Which do we want? Which do we not want?
You don't want debt that buys things that go down in value. So you go to, buy a TV with your credit card. That's just bad. That's bad debt. Okay. Good debt is when you borrow money to invest in another asset. Again, stocks, ETFs, life insurance, real estate, cryptocurrency, gold, and precious metals. You want to buy things that make money with inflation. Okay. Because when you borrow money, when you take a loan, did you have to work for the money? No, you saved your time of having to work through the money, fight through traffic. You actually don't pay taxes on the money when you borrow it, so you didn't have to work for it, you didn't pay taxes, and you fight inflation with inflation, essentially, right? So you're fighting the 3 things as working hard, paying taxes, and inflation. Inflation is just another form of taxation. So it's understanding and really understanding how the economy works. The rich understand this. The rich make lots of money with inflation. You just got to understand. There's a story in the book of a girl named Jane. She's a student of ours. We changed her name, of course, but she had $22,000 of credit card debt. She had $52,000 in her brokerage account at one of the big brokerage firms. Her financial advisor told her to liquidate her money from her brokerage account in her index fund to pay off her credit card debt. I said, don't do that. Transfer the money over. We transferred it to a broker called M1 Finances. Okay. She was able to press the borrow button. She didn't sell the 52,000. She borrowed 22,000. She paid off all her credit card debt. It was $950 a month. All the bad debt was good. We turned it into good debt because we didn't sell the stocks. Now she takes the $950 a month, funnels it into her brokerage account. That brokerage account is getting bigger and bigger all the time. She's growing her wealth without paying taxes. She eliminated the bad debt, and now she could actually borrow to fund real estate or start a business, which is actually a tax deduction of money that didn't. So you're turning bad debt into good debt.
All right, if the tax filing season has you down, the name of his book, again, you just saw it on the screen. It's Be Smart, Pay Zero Taxes, and Be Smart, Pay Zero Taxes. There it is. It's on this page. I've got several pages. Be Smart, Pay Zero Taxes. It's Mark J. Kwan. And Mark, real quick, where do people get the book? And if you mentioned you're doing some teaching and training, where do they find you?
You know what? We have a website called The Perfect Portfolio. We have a YouTube channel called The Perfect Portfolio. You can get the book at Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. I think there's tons of bookstores. I think we're even shipping some to some airports. The book was, nobody ever read the book. I think we sold like 30,000 copies immediately. So the book is just exploding and nobody read it yet, it's kind of blowing our mind here. It's been #1 personal taxes. I was even beating Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman, which I was like, wow, how did that happen? So we definitely struck a chord with this one. And the book was written for ordinary Americans. It's actually dedicated to plumbers and electricians and factory workers and college dropouts like myself and just the regular ordinary Americans, just to prove that they can do it too. It's actually given a lot of people a hope that they go, wow, I think this could work for me. But again, it only works if you put the time in. And I recommend not just reading the book, invest 100 time. We have a financial education company where we teach this strategy. I've been teaching this strategy for 4 years and proving it's going to work. And it was actually, Humanix Books called me and said, hey, could you write a book on this? This is extremely interesting. And could you prove it that ordinary Americans can do this? So I've spent night and day for the last 9 months, not sleeping much, but we finally knocked out the book. So
well, you said start with $100 in a brokerage account, get a copy of the book, and off to the races you go. But you just said you dedicated this to plumbers and the hardworking blue collar, just the average citizen out there that is just trying to get ahead and oftentimes working paycheck to paycheck. And the polls, if emergency came up, they couldn't put their hand on $1,000. You wrote it to them. A lot of those folks say they heard you say this, and I know they can get the book, but learn this. You said you wouldn't put a penny in their 401k. That's the benefit of why they took their job. That's their most of their retirement plan is in their 401k. And people go, "Oh crap, I shouldn't have been doing this." What do you say to them?
I think that everyone needs to decide what's best for them. If like I said, there's a lot of people that just they're horrible at spending, they're horrible at saving, they just spend everything. I think those people do need to max out their 401k, because if they get it and they just spend it. But for the people who actually want to put the time, invest their time and money and energy in learning finances, you need to take 100 hours this year minimum to raising your financial IQ. For those people, I think they need to look into this system. A 401k just defers taxes. Okay, that's it. It's just not tax saving; it's deferring it. Okay, so let's cover the facts. When you put money in your 401k, you're not saving money. It's tax deferred, meaning you owe the tax man money. Now, if you're a good investor and you get a high rate of return, you're actually penalized because the money is bigger on the back end. If you're a bad investor, get a low rate of return, you're actually rewarded. So it's kind of a ridiculous account, in my opinion, because if you're a good investor, the government wins more and you win less. Okay. So I'm also, Roth IRAs are great because at least you're not deferring taxes, but you can't even buy and borrow from a Roth IRA. So it's not my primary way to invest. But no, I think people need to learn, they need to read the book, and they need to learn. They decide what's best for them based on their financial IQ, what they want to do. When you call it a retirement account, if you look at the numbers, 99% of the people that are putting money in a retirement account are probably going to have to work until they die. If you just actually run the numbers, if you have $1 million in a 401k right now and you run the numbers and you're 65, you can take about $37,000 a year of income out of that. And there's still a 10% chance you're going to run out of money. It's called the 4% rule. It's been about 30. Now, here's the other thing. When you take that distribution out, your Social Security, which was not supposed to be taxed, it would actually trigger the taxes. So Social Security is a tax. Your 401k, which was supposed to save you taxes, is tax deferred. It's taxed at the highest form of taxation. And then if you take money out of your 401k, they've been triggering the taxes on your Social Security. It's triple taxation. So for any CPA that says you're saving money by putting money in your 401k and IRA, I would have to say I disagree with that completely. Buy, Borrow, Die says, hey, invest, grow your money, never pay taxes. If you borrow, you circumvent the tax system just like the billionaires, and you can do it when you have $2,500 in your brokerage account. And then when you die, it's all tax-free. 401ks are tax nightmares to your family. So if you don't like your family, don't like your kids, get a 401k, pass them all the tax problems.
I avoided 401k until for a period of time, the old big corporation I was with said, we will match dollar for dollar. And I said, okay, that's free money. But then they stopped that, and then I stopped that as well. So I figured I'd get some free money out of the selfish big corporation I worked for. So
I think people should take the free money, right? I'm not a financial advisor. I just look, you guys to read the book, you guys decide. I just know what works for me, and I know what I'm doing every single year. I put it all in the book. It's 49 chapters. It's a big book. But again, I've always written books, simple, easy to understand, so that, if somebody is an auto mechanic, they can read the book and go, I think I got this.
Be smart, pay zero taxes. Mark J. Kwan. Mark, congrats on the book. I look forward to having another conversation. It's a pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
You got it. Mark J. Kwan again. Be smart, pay zero taxes. Available where fine books are sold. The Perfect Portfolio, I believe, is what he said the YouTube channel is. You'll find him out there, Mark J. Kwan. Thanks for hopping on the program. Speaking, before I go to my next guest here, speaking of real estate being something that you can invest in and use to create generational wealth, whether it's the house you live in. You heard his strategy of using his house and getting a bigger house so he could rent part of it. Listen, Sherry Cree is the realtor that we talk about every day on this program, and she believes, this is one of the things that I began when I first started talking about Sherry, you got to know that she believes that real estate is one of those things that if you use it properly and you play the game properly, whether it's your first house or along the pathway of transition between house and more rooms and less rooms and downsizing, upsizing, have a real estate strategy that can build a generational wealth. And that's what Sherry wants to help you do. Her focus is on helping you figure that out. It's not just about putting the sign in the yard and saying, well, isn't that we got a pretty sign that we're going to have 14 open houses, and we really cleaned up the flower beds to make them look pretty for the open houses. No, it's a bigger strategy than that. Sherry wants to be your realtor for life. That means if you're just starting out and you're going to stay in that house for a couple of years, and 3, 4, 5, 6 years later, you need a bigger house, you need a different neighborhood. Sherry wants to be your realtor for life. Listen, anywhere in Colorado, I know many people across America watch this throughout the day. If you're not watching it live, people watch it during their lunch break. Listen, if you're in Colorado, anywhere up down the I-25 corridor, the 25, you start up north, you go up to Wellington and Windsor towards the Wyoming line, head on down, straight on down the I-25 into the Denver area, head a little bit west out toward Boulder and Niwot and Gun Barrel, those places. Head a little bit east, you can head out into the Aurora area. She'll make sure you don't live next to Trendy Aragua in Aurora. Listen, Sherry Cree is your realtor for life, and she's who I recommend you get in touch with. Again, this is the perfect time of year to start thinking about real estate. After the Super Bowl, people start really looking for houses, and right now, by the way, inventory is low, and so if you put your house up quickly and you're ready to go, you'll probably get some pretty good offers and be ready to go pretty quickly because people are looking for inventory. But now's the time to start getting ready. If you're not ready to list now, start getting ready. And reach out, homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. Make sure you tell her that Jimmy Lakey told you to be in touch, homeswithsherry.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, good to have you here on the show. As you know, I'm Jimmy. Pleasure to have you here. Want to also remind you about our Patreon page, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. We dropped an interview. We got another interview, I think, drops today or tomorrow. It's one of those I've been talking about. It's with a rabbi. I like talking to rabbis. They're really smart fellers. And so that's coming up. I'll give you the details on that here in just a moment. But the one we dropped up last week, if you haven't seen it, it's Shane Jenkins. And 30 days ago, 45 days ago, he was in jail. He was a January 6th prisoner. And that interview is behind the paywall. And we did it because it's longer form. And we also put some topics behind the paywall that if we put them on the live stream would probably get banned. For instance, anytime I mention this word here on this program, YouTube pulls us down immediately. I mean, that's a good way to get banned. And so there's some sensitive topics. It's all still family friendly, but there's some sensitive topics, including a lot of stuff about the little F for Dr. Fauci and that stuff and Robert F. Kennedy. That's a lot of good stuff behind the paywall. But the Shane Jenkins interview dropped last week. January the 6th, prisoner pardoned by President Donald Trump. He gives details of what happened, what his experience was on January the 6th. He talks about the arrest process that happened. He volunteered to turn himself in, but they didn't want that. They wanted cameras there. I mean, or at least coming for questioning. I mean, his whole story is behind the paywall. It's almost 1 hour of a conversation, and it's patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. And there is a free side of the Patreon. Be a free subscriber, but if you'll be a paid subscriber, you'll get a lot of great interviews back there that you won't see in entirety here on this program. Ladies and gentlemen, from a great organization called InvestUSA.org, it's Mr. Michael Letts. He's one of our security gurus and experts. Michael, how are you, sir? Good morning. Oh, we don't have your audio there, Michael. We don't have your audio. He's adjusting his mic. Oh, we still got an audio issue. It's live streaming, my friends. It's live streaming. So let Michael fix his audio there. He's adjusting something. Nope, we can't hear you. No, we cannot hear you. I should feel like I should hold up signs. We cannot hear you. He's working on it. Let me pull it. Oh, let's see. There you go. You're unmuted here. It's something on your computer. Let me pull him off screen and we'll figure that out and work on that. Good to have all of you here. We'll get Michael back on. He's turned on in the studio, so it's something on his computer end, I'm thinking. Maybe his battery's out or something. I'm not exactly sure. He's gonna rejoin us. He'll come back in here in just a second. All right, good to have you here on the program. Indeed, we're stumbling and bumbling. Producer Chad, let's go ahead and do a couple of memes. Why don't we do that while we wait for Michael Letts to reconnect, and hopefully we can do that. This is a section of the show that we call the Stolen Memes. We go around the world. We steal memes from around the globe, and we're shameless, we're cheap, and we just steal them. Outright thieve them. We steal them, and this is what the memes would look like, my friends. So here we go. Round and around the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Let's do our first stolen meme of the day. Stolen meme. That's my face when someone tells me they just tested positive, even though they got 8 shots and it's 2025. Is that still around? Is the vid still around, the booger cootie virus? I had somebody, I do remember a couple of months ago, I had a little sneeze. They said, you ought to get tested for the booger cootie virus. And I'm like, I have a cold, which is what the booger cootie, yeah, you get it. My face when someone says that. It's always amazing. Remember Dr. Fauci, how many jabs he had, and he was facing his 5th or 6th infection with the booger cootie virus, and yet he bragged about his that word there that we can't say because YouTube will kick us off. Michael Letts is still not connected. So let's do this. Round and round the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. This is a fun one. You got to like this. Can you see it on your screen? Yeah, it's a bit crazy, extreme. Bad word, naughty word. Don't read it if you're sensitive. Shoplifters will be prostituted. No exceptions. You can't hire good help right now. I think they meant prosecuted, but maybe, I don't know. What kind of store is that? I mean, if it's the right kind of store, it may be that be what's going to happen to them. All right, here we go. Round the world to go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. A Babylon Bee section. Laid off IRS agent gets new job checking receipts at Costco exit. That's funny. That does Babylon Bee ever run out of good stuff, man? They are always just targeted right on there. So yeah, the IRS agent is going to audit your checkout receipts at Costco. All right, here we go. Round and round the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. We steal them from around the globe. Sometimes I like to mess with my husband and hide his stuff where he can't find it. I like to put his shoes in the shoe closet, his jacket on the hanger, and his keys on the key hook. All the ladies out there shouting amen. And all the guys are like, don't be that way. Don't be that way. If you have a teenager, also, that's kind of how you have to do with them. Where's my stuff? It's where it's supposed to be, and they never know that. Teenager could pertain to teenagers. Round and round the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Do we have any memes? We might have milked the meme machine dry, is what we might have done. Hopefully we'll get Michael Letts here in just a second, back on the program. Remember, it's National Nap Day. I had a couple of questions and asked this question about the what's the perfect length of a nap if you take a nap? Most Americans say today they would like to have a nap. How many of you plan to take a nap today? I'd like to take a nap today, but I don't think I'll get to take a nap today. So we'll see if that works out. But it's National Napping Day, and 20 to 30. The experts say if you want to feel energized after a nap, 20 to 30 minutes is the perfect length. If you want to get rested and catch up on sleep, 60 minutes is perfect, but you'll probably feel groggy. I don't know about you. People say they take these power naps, like they take these 20, 30-minute naps and wake up feeling energized. I take a 20, 30-minute nap. I just want to take another 20 to 30-minute nap. Now, they say that's a sign that I'm sleep deprived. And I'm like, of course I'm sleep deprived. But I still, 20. Do you know anybody that can take a 20 or 30-minute nap and wake up and feel energized and power napped? I mean, I hear the phrase and I hear it's a possibility, but I think it's like a unicorn. Very, very hard to find. All right, let's see if we have Michael Letts this time. Michael Letts, are you here this time? Michael, we still don't hear you. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's that. I don't know. I wish I could read his lips. He's saying something very special. He's saying how much he loves me. He's saying, well, this is the best show out there. He loves the Streamcast. Michael, let's reschedule. Let's reschedule this thing and we'll figure out the issue there. But Michael, obviously, if only I feel like we should put Michael like on the bottom of the screen and let him do sign language and stuff, and he could just do that. That'd be kind of fun. It wouldn't make any sense, but he could still do it. Okay, Ann says she can power nap 15 minutes. Ann, you are a unicorn. I cannot power nap. Nap time, Andy says 60 minutes is my preferred time. Now, they say if you go above 60 minutes on the nap, then you're probably lacking sleep and you're going to screw up your sleep schedule, but you're going to get the REM sleep, but you don't want to get in the REM sleep in a nap. I don't know. I can take it. Maybe I am sleep deprived. I should work on this because, REM sleep's where you have the dreams, right? I can have a 20-minute nap and have a dream and then wake up and go, God, I'm tired the rest of the day. Yeah. Okay. Ann can power nap. I think she's a rarity out there. She's very much a rarity. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I was looking forward to the conversation with Michael Letts, and here's what we're going to get Michael Letts back on, and we'll get the connection fixed because it's important to talk about. There's a couple of things happening together. We're talking about J.D. Vance chased and harangued on the streets by screaming Hamas pro-terrorist people, and he stopped to talk to him. Very reasonable that he did. And they continued to harass him. And he said, I told you I'd talk 5 minutes. He talked 5 minutes and they went merrily down the way. The Secret Service then also had to shoot a crazed idiot walking towards the White House with guns over the weekend. The president was not at the White House, but the Secret Service dispatched that guy pretty quickly. And Elon Musk has tweeted out that you hear even just across the street from where my old radio station was before I got kicked from the curb by the corporate conglomerates of media, there was a Tesla dealership. in the old studio, if I ever went in there. And some guy tried to bomb that and vandalize it. They're finding Tesla charging stations and putting swastikas on there for Nazi. And it's amazing how Democrats they don't understand history of what Nazis were and who Nazis were. So they just call you a Nazi, a racist, bigot, homophobe, Nazi, all that stuff. They're intellectually bankrupt people. They, honest to God, they really are intellectually bankrupt. That's why they sit through the State of the Union acting like a bunch of jackwagons and yahoos and pouting because they're intellectually bankrupt and can't conduct in the arena of the ideas. So they can't do it. But Elon says he has information. He tweeted this out or X'd it out last night that Act Blue. See, a lot of these protesters, like the George Floyd protest, those were funded. I mean, you could, if you watch the right news, there were times where they were throwing bricks at someone mysteriously parked like a U-Haul vehicle or a rent-a-truck or a trailer and had a bunch of bricks there, stones and the signs and all the, it's all paid for. A lot of these are rent-a-riots. And since USAID has had their wings cut and aren't able to send out as many to NGOs that are for racial reconciliation or pro-Hamas or whatever and rent to the protesters to go out there, Act Blue is an organization in which they have been funding, and Act Blue, by the way, is funded by George Soros and a bunch of other powerful billionaires. That Act Blue, meaning Democrat, and that's what Elon says he has the proof and the evidence, and he's getting word more that Act Blue is a lot of these people that are doing a lot of these protests, taking over a Tesla dealership they did over the weekend, vandalizing, are Act Blue type people. So we'll go to Elon's X feed and you will find that. That's what we were going to talk to Michael Lutz about, is the violence of Democrats and how desperate they have become. They, again, when you can't win in the arena of ideas, you get violent, you get extreme, and that's what these people are. They're deranged people. Orange man bad. You're a racist. You're a Nazi. You're this. You're that. Elon's this. And again, there's no ideas forthcoming. There's no proposals forthcoming. It's all about hatred. You saw that at the State of the Union or the joint session of Congress speech last week. It's all about the hatred that these people have in their hearts, and they are very much deranged people, and it's very sad. And we'll see if it ever gets to the point to where they're going to take their, if they ever take their party back. I'm not sure it's possible at this point for them, but we shall see. All right, I think I have one video, and I don't know if this video, we had, maybe it's a bad Monday for technical difficulties. Remember, half the show we didn't have the Twitter feed up. The X feed was down. Michael Lutz has gremlins going on. And let me see if I can put one more video up here. I'm not exactly sure which one this is. Yes, I believe this is it. This is the one I wanted. Remember the hatred in their heart and the bitterness I referred to? This is a fun take and a recap of what we saw last week at the joint session of Congress speech. Watch this. Here we go.
This is my fifth such speech to Congress. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way. Who would say Pocahontas says yes?
Is there a somewhat of a resemblance to Elizabeth Warren?
Hey, that's why we got to get on TikTok. That's a video we ripped off from TikTok, and whoever put it together, it's on the bottom of the screen there. We give them credit. That's genius. But that's the crazy Democrats out there, and they are unhinged. And fortunately, I'm unleashed, and they're unhinged. It's not me that's unhinged. I'm just unleashed. All right, good to have all of you here on the program. Sorry. The portrayal of this lady here was almost spot on. It was almost spot on. The imitation there, the actress, the lady playing it, that was almost spot on to that ugly battle axe. Connecticut, what are you thinking? We hit on this on Friday. Connecticut, what are you thinking? And you know what? I asked 3 people over the weekend. Do you know anyone who's ever been to Connecticut and or lives in Connecticut? One person says, I've been to Connecticut, but nobody knows anybody that's been to Connecticut. Nobody has any. No, it lives in Connecticut. I don't know. Listen, Connecticut must be a pretty bad place, honestly, because if they're sending their best and brightest to Congress and this is who they sent, would you want to live in the neighborhood she represents, knowing that that's the best and the brightest? They sent her up there. Anyway, that's a fantastic TikTok video. We got to get our live feed going on the TikTok here real soon. All right, it's National Napping Day. 42% of people are more tired after springing forward. We have one person that says they're able to power nap. I can't do it. Experts recommend 20 to 30-minute naps to feel energized. If I took a 20-minute nap after the show, I would feel exhausted and want to take another 20-minute nap. So they say that I'm probably sleep deprived because of that. And they may be right. You know, you work as hard as producer Chad and I do. We probably are sleep deprived people. All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget the Patreon page, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. Let me read a couple more comments that have been coming in here. Andrew Huberman has a podcast on sleep info. All right, that's good to know. I'll check it out. I'm sure I won't. I might, though. Jim says, should politicians that are in nonpartisan political races be allowed to use Act Blue as a fundraising platform? I don't know. I don't know. Jim, that's a great question. It's above my pay grade, but Act Blue, if somebody's using Act Blue, just know that there's a lot of funding that comes from old George Soros on that platform. All right, a lot of Soros money in there. All right, we're going to get rescheduled with Michael Lutz. I kind of threw off the ending of our program a little bit, but that's all right. We had technical difficulties. Ladies and gentlemen, until we meet again tomorrow, come back here tomorrow. We have technical difficulties. Twitter, thanks. You finally showed up. We appreciate it. Don't forget our charity, riverspromise.org. Make a donation if you would, my friends. I appreciate that. $30 feeds a kid for 2 meals a day for 30 days, for basically a month. And if you do $65, that provides the kid 2 meals a day, plus sends them to school and gives them health insurance. $65 changes a lot. $30 changes a lot. $3,000 changes even more of a lot. You get the idea. Riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com. Until we meet again, I mean this. God bless you. God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Thanks for bearing through the technical difficulties today. Jimmy Lakey, peace. I'm out of here.